Philosophies revived.
Let's start by imagining something really wild. Picture the world around you, the trees swaying in the wind, the ground beneath your feet, the smell of coffee brewing in your kitchen. All of it feels solid and real, right? But what if I told you that this so-called reality could actually be more like a highly detailed projection or simulation, a hologram even? It's a far-out idea, but it's one that has captivated scientists and philosophers for decades. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, this sounds like the plot of The Matrix, stay with me. The idea that reality is a hologram isn't just science fiction. It's a hypothesis some serious scientists have explored. According to this theory, the physical universe that we experience is only a two-dimensional projection, much like a hologram. The true essence of reality exists beyond what our senses can perceive, in a higher dimensional realm. This is where Jacobo Grinberg comes in. Grinberg wasn't just interested in studying the human brain. He was obsessed with understanding the nature of consciousness and its relationship to reality. He believed that what we experience as reality is actually a construct of our minds, an intricate interplay between consciousness and the external world. But here's the kicker. Grinberg proposed that if we could understand and control how our brains create this holographic reality, we could manipulate it. It's a concept that challenges everything we think we know. Are the laws of physics as rigid as they seem? Or are they more like guidelines, rules that we can bend or even break if we know how? Jacobo Grinberg spent his life searching for answers to these questions, and what he found could change how we think about the universe and our place in it. Jacobo Grinberg, the scientist who explored consciousness. Jacobo Grinberg's story isn't just about scientific research. It's about one man's quest to understand the deepest mysteries of existence. Born in Mexico in 1946, Grinberg quickly distinguished himself as a brilliant mind in the field of neuroscience. He studied at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, and later he expanded his knowledge of neurophysiology at the New York Brain Research Institute. His academic achievements were impressive, but what made Grinberg unique was his insatiable curiosity about consciousness. Most scientists shy away from exploring consciousness because it's notoriously hard to measure or define. It's one of those tricky concepts that seems to exist on the border between science and philosophy. But for Grinberg, understanding consciousness was the key to unlocking the mysteries of reality itself. He didn't just see the brain as a biological machine, he saw it as the gateway to understanding the universe. Unlike many of his peers, Grinberg wasn't content to stick to conventional research methods. He believed that ancient spiritual traditions, particularly shamanism, held valuable insights into the nature of consciousness that modern science had overlooked. Grinberg spent years studying with shamans, particularly in Mexico, observing their rituals and practices. He was particularly intrigued by their claims of supernatural abilities, things like telepathy, spiritual healing, and even altering physical matter. To Grinberg, these practices weren't just superstitions. He believed that shamans were tapping into a deeper level of reality, one that modern science was only beginning to understand. Through his research, Grinberg sought to bridge the gap between science and spirituality, combining neuroscience with mysticism in a way that no one else had done before. His work was groundbreaking, controversial, and most of all, deeply inspiring. The mystery of reality, is it all in our heads? What if everything you experience is quite literally all in your head? Think about it, every sound, sight, and sensation you've ever had is just your brain interpreting signals from the world around you. That cozy sweater you love wearing? It's just electrical impulses translated into the sensation of softness. The delicious smell of cookies baking in the oven? Your brain's way of decoding a bunch of molecules floating in the air. Jacobo Grinberg took this idea one step further. He proposed that not only does our brain interpret the world, it actually creates it. In other words, What we perceive as reality is, in many ways, a mental construct. Now, this doesn't mean that the physical world isn't real, but rather that our experience of it is shaped by how our brains process the information we receive. Grinberg's theory was influenced by both neuroscience and spiritual traditions. He believed that the brain interacts with something he called the lattice, a kind of informational field that contains all possible realities. According to Grinberg, the lattice is a hologram that our brains tune into, like a radio picking up a station. The version of reality that we experience depends on the frequency we're tuned to. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Grinberg believed that it's possible to alter the reality we experience by changing how our brains interact with the lattice. This means that, theoretically, we could manifest different versions of reality based on our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions. In simple terms, reality is not fixed. If you know how to manipulate it, you can change it. It's a radical idea, but it aligns with concepts from both ancient mysticism and cutting-edge quantum physics. Grinberg's work challenged the notion that we're passive observers in the universe. Instead, he suggested that we're active participants in the creation of reality itself. Shamans, mystics, and psychic phenomena. Grinberg's unconventional research. Grinberg wasn't content with studying brain scans and neural activity in a sterile lab. He believed that if he truly wanted to understand consciousness and its role in shaping reality, he needed to go where few scientists dared to tread, into the world of shamans, mystics, and psychic phenomena. Shamanism, for those who may not be familiar, is an ancient spiritual practice found in cultures all over the world. Shamans are believed to have the ability to connect with other dimensions, heal the sick, and even alter reality. To many in the scientific community, these claims are nothing more than folklore. But Grinberg wasn't so quick to dismiss them. In fact, he saw shamanism as a potential key to understanding the mind's power to shape reality. One of the most famous shamans Grinberg studied was a woman named Pachita. Her healing practices were unlike anything you've ever seen. Imagine someone performing surgery without any medical tools, no scalpels, no anesthesia, just their bare hands and an unwavering belief in their abilities. Pachita would claim to remove diseased organs and replace them with healthy ones that she materialized out of thin air. And here's the thing, her patients recovered. Grinberg was both amazed and perplexed by what he saw. This wasn't just placebo or psychological suggestion. Pachita's patients genuinely seemed to be healed. Grinberg believed that Pachita had somehow learned to manipulate the lattice, tapping into deeper layers of reality where the normal laws of physics didn't apply. To him, this was proof that our minds have far more control over reality than we realize. This unconventional research set Grinberg apart from other scientists. He wasn't afraid to explore the unknown, and he believed that spiritual practices like shamanism held valuable insights into the nature of reality. It was this open-minded approach that allowed Grinberg to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible. The Latis Theory, reality, is not what it seems. Now, let's dive deeper into Grinberg's Latis Theory, because this is where things get really fascinating. Grinberg's lattice wasn't just a theoretical idea. It was the foundation of his entire understanding of reality. According to him, the lattice is a kind of holographic field that contains all possible information about reality. It's like a blueprint for the universe, filled with potential realities that our brains filter and shape into the world we experience. Imagine the lattice as a giant, invisible web that connects everything in existence. It's not made of matter, but of pure information, kind of like a cosmic database. Every experience, thought, and emotion you've ever had exists as a piece of data in this field. Your brain acts as a receiver, tuning into different parts of the lattice to create your personal version of reality. Here's where it gets really interesting. Grinberg believed that the lattice could be manipulated. Just like you can change the channel on a TV or adjust the frequency on a radio, he thought it was possible to shift the way our brains interact with the lattice to create different versions of reality. This means that if you could learn to control how your brain connects to the lattice, you could literally alter the world around you. This idea challenges everything we think we know about reality. Most of us see the world as something fixed and unchanging, a solid, unshakable foundation. But according to Grinberg, that's just an illusion. Reality is fluid, constantly changing and shaped by our perceptions. And if we could learn to tap into the deeper layers of the lattice, we could start bending the rules of reality in ways that seem impossible. It's a mind-bending concept, but it aligns with ideas from both quantum physics and ancient spiritual traditions. In many ways, Grinberg's Latis Theory brings together science and mysticism, offering a new way of understanding the world and our place in it. The power of consciousness, creating your own reality. If Grinberg's Latis Theory sounds a little out there, don't worry. You don't need a degree in quantum physics to appreciate its implications. At its core, Grinberg's work was about one simple yet profound idea: our minds are more powerful than we think. Think about it. Every moment of every day, you're shaping your reality with your thoughts, beliefs, and intentions. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a bad mood, everything seems to go wrong? Or when you're feeling positive, things just seem to fall into place? That's not a coincidence. It's your mind influencing the world around you. Grinberg believed that this power wasn't just a metaphor. He thought it was a real, tangible ability that we all possess. According to his Latis theory, our brains are constantly interacting with the fabric of reality, shaping it based on the thoughts and emotions we focus on. This means that if we can learn to harness the power of our minds, we can start consciously creating the reality we want to experience. It's a concept that aligns with many popular self-help ideas, like the law of attraction or creative visualization. But Grinberg's work took these ideas to a whole new level. He believed that the reason techniques like visualization work is because they're literally reprogramming the lattice, tuning our brains into a version of reality where our desires are already manifested. So what does this mean for you? Well, if Grinberg was right, then you have the power to change your life in ways you might not have thought possible. By focusing your thoughts, visualizing your goals, and aligning your intentions with the universe, you're not just wishing for a better future, you're actively creating it. It's a simple yet profound shift in perspective that can change everything. The disappearance. Where did Jacobo Grinberg go? Now, here's where the story takes a turn for the mysterious. Just as Grinberg was on the verge of breaking through with his research, he vanished. No warning, no explanation, he was just gone. In December 1994, Grinberg was living in Mexico City, where he had a successful career and a promising future ahead of him. He was working on several groundbreaking projects, including experiments that explored the possibility of telepathy and non-local communication between brains. He had big plans to take his research even further, but then he disappeared without a trace. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened to Jacobo Grinberg. Some believe he was the victim of a crime of passion, while others suggest he was kidnapped by shadowy government agencies who didn't want his research to get out. There are even wilder theories. Some say he was abducted by aliens, or that he ascended to a higher dimension after discovering the true nature of reality. One of the most intriguing theories is that Grinberg was silenced because of his work on consciousness and the lattice. His research suggested that if people learned how to control their minds and manipulate reality, they could become incredibly powerful. Could it be that someone didn't want that kind of information getting out? Whatever the truth is, one thing is clear: Grinberg's disappearance only added to the mystique surrounding his life and work. Even after nearly 3 decades, his ideas continue to inspire people around the world, pushing us to question what we know about reality, and the potential of the human mind. What can we learn from Grinberg's legacy? So, what can we take away from Jacobo Grinberg's incredible journey? Whether or not you believe in psychic phenomena or the idea of living in a holographic universe, Grinberg's work offers a powerful reminder. We have more control over our lives than we realize. Grinberg's research challenges us to rethink what's possible. If reality is shaped by our minds, then we're not just passive observers in the universe, we're active participants. Our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions have the power to influence the world around us, whether we realize it or not. In a way, Grinberg's work is both liberating and empowering. It suggests that we're not limited by the circumstances we're born into, or by the obstacles we face. By learning to harness the power of our minds and aligning ourselves with the deeper layers of reality, we can start creating the lives we truly want to live. But perhaps the most important lesson we can learn from Grinberg is the importance of curiosity and open-mindedness. He wasn't afraid to explore the unknown, to challenge conventional wisdom, and to blend science with spirituality. In a world where we often get stuck in rigid ways of thinking, Grinberg's work reminds us to stay curious, question everything, and never stop exploring the mysteries of the universe. In the end, whether or not we ever solve the mystery of Jacobo Grinberg's disappearance, his legacy lives on through his groundbreaking research and his unshakable belief in the power of the human mind. His story invites us to imagine new possibilities, embrace our creative potential, and take an active role in shaping our own reality.